بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علمك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Continuing our discussion about Itlaq wa Taqeed, we have one more chapter, chapter 4. Two more chapters, chapter 4 and chapter 5. Then chapter 6 is about Mujmal and Mubayyan, which is different. So, chapter 4 is about Muqaddamatul Hikmah. In the previous book on Usul, we already had this. We said, in Itlaq, the inclusiveness or generality is understood intellectually. There is no term like Kol or Jami' that indicate generality. We said we understand it intellectually. In order to come to this conclusion that mutlaq is meant to be mutlaq, there need to be few points. You have to establish few things. And these are called muqaddamat, it means the requirements of wisdom. Means if the speaker is wise, and these points are there, so he must have meant itlaq. Otherwise, he should have done differently. First, the speaker has to be intending giving everything that we need to know. في مقام بيان تمام مرادي. He has the intention of saying everything that we need to know about this action. If the speaker just wants to give us an idea or lay the foundation or give a principle, and he is not intending to say all the details, so we cannot argue from the fact that he has not said details that he didn't mean details. The only time, this is rational, even you yourself can understand, all these things. The only way we can say itlaq means inclusiveness is when he wants to say all the details, and he can say all the details, but he has not said. So he didn't mean to narrow it down. So, the first thing is that he has to be intending to mention all the details. The second thing is that he has not specified it. There is nothing to bring limitations and restrictions and taqeed. And also the third thing is that there is no qadr mutayaqan. There is nothing that it's certainly included. So, let us go to the text. Al-Fasl al-Rabi' Muqaddamatul Hikmah. Prerequisite of wisdom. This is a technical term. We use it for all the conditions that have to be there so that itlaq is established. Al-Ihtijaju bil-Itlaq la yatimmu illa ba'da tamamiyyati muqaddamat al-hikmah. To argue from itlaq means to be able to use itlaq, establish itlaq, is not completed unless after all the prerequisites of hikmah are there. They are all completed. Tamamiyya means completed. Completeness, but we say they are all completed. These muqaddamatul hikmah al-hakimata ala anna ma waqa'a tahta da'irat al-talab tamamul mawdu' al-hukm. They make this ruling, they make this conclusion for us that whatever has fallen under the command or under the interest of Mawla, whatever he wanted, is tamamul mawdu' al-hukm. So for example, if he said a'atiq raqabatan, we say this command of Mawla, A'tiq, has belonged to Raqaba in a general way, and with this muqaddamat, we can say that is meant. وَهَذَا هُوَ السِّرْ. This is the secret for needing of mutlaq needing all these things. Mutlaq needing all these things. These muqaddamat are as follows. First, كون المتكلم في مقام بيان تمام مراده. The speaker has to be in the condition that he wants to explain everything. Maqam means condition, position. He's in the position of saying everything that he means. لا في مقام الإهمال ولا الإجمال. What is the difference between ihmal and ijmal? Yes.
Ijmal is summary or concise, not detailed.
Yeah.
So like just in passing maybe. Ihmal is not a serious case.
No. Sometimes the speaker is not in a position to speak seriously or speaking of everything. Maybe he's tired, maybe he has, I don't know, for some reason he's not explaining everything. Or sometimes he's very serious, but at the moment he wants to just say the idea, to plant the idea, to say the principle, not tafsir, ijmal, the general idea.
That's a summary. Ijmal.
Like summary. But ijmal is different from summary. I don't know in English what is the term. There's a difference between
Concise?
No, when he says seriously,
No.
Sheikh, no? Seriously,
Pardon?
it doesn't mean he's joking or he's in a humorous manner.
no, ijmal and tafsil.
Succinct.
Ijmal.
Pardon?
Being succinct.
Comprehensive.
Saying
Succinct means tafsil.
No,
No.
succinct means
It's to the point, direct.
yeah, say very short. Very
No.
using very few words.
This is different, not necessarily. Ijmal means you want to say something as a principle. Tafsil is you want to mention the details. So it's not summary. Summary normally comes after something has already been said, and then you bring the key points. Yes.
Like ijmal would be to pray, and then tafsil is how to pray. How many rakats.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, a law can be passed in the parliament that, for example, about labor's rights. For example, children should not work. But then lots of details can be passed on in the government. We cannot say that law is the summary. It's not the summary of that. It's ijmal. It means something as a general idea.
Like a preface.
Like a comprehensive?
No,
No?
no, no, it's not comprehensive.
It's a-
Not
Like a
detailed.
title, like a
It's a
title.
law.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be law. It can be about anything. Ijmal and tafsir. So ijmal means yes.
Where it says generalization.
No,
No.
What generalization?
generalization is different. Generalization is ta'mim. Ijmal means you say something as a general idea, as a principle. Tafsil is you articulate it. Ijmal and tafsil. For example,
Something like a synopsis.
I may ask you, do you know, for example, this community, for example, in this country, Shia community in this country? You say bil ijmal means I have some ideas, but not very detailed. But someone who has lived there, or someone who has been, really studying them, he can have tafsili. But sometimes it's just general, ijmal. Okay? Pardon?
Idea.
Just rough idea often when people say.
Yeah, but rough, we cannot say, for example, this is a rough law.
No, you can't use that
Yes.
term.
Like a kind of
Synopsis.
I think
How about general idea?
synopsis is different.
Yeah.
Synopsis is different again. Yeah.
How about general idea?
Pardon?
General idea?
General idea, for example.
Sheikh, I think principle is the best.
Principle.
Yeah, principle is the
Maybe
best.
we understood it. Sheikh.
Yes.
We understood it, we just can't
We can't find the term for it. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
How about ihmal? What is ihmal then?
Ihmal means not to be careful enough. Either you are not serious or you are in hurry, you don't have time to pay attention. You know, we have this in the writing, you know, Tawqi of Imam Zaman. إنا غير ناسين لذكركم ولا مهملين لمراعاتكم. We are not forgetful with respect to you. We don't forget you. And we are not muhmelin, means we don't fail to care for you. غير مهملين لمراعاتكم. Yeah. Okay, so the first condition كون المتكلم في مقام بيان تمام مراده لا في مقام الإهمال ولا الإجمال. The speaker is in the position of expressing everything that he means, not in the position of ihmal, means not to be very articulate or careful, or ijmal, to just say the general idea. Okay? Just to raise an issue, you know, general idea. 2. انتفاء ما يوجب التقييد. There must be nothing there that causes restriction. There must be no modifier. Because if there is modifier, okay, there's no itlaq. شئت قلت, if you like, you can say this. عدم نصب القرينة على القيد. There is no evidence to suggest that there is a modification. قيد means modifier. 3. انتفاء القدر المتيقن في مقام التخاطب. There is no certain amount or certain scope there. If something is decisively and certainly known to be included, that stops formation of muqaddamat al-hikmah. Now let's give you some examples and inshallah it becomes more clear. Of course, you already know this because we had it in previous book.
What's the fourth
Number
one?
3 was
Pardon?
what?
Number 4.
Number
Yeah, this was
Number
number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
There's no
What
certain.
was it?
There's no certain amount.
You said 4.
Qadr?
No qadr mutayaqqan.
Huh?
There are 4 conditions, right, Sheikh?
Here he mentions 3.
Oh, okay.
But you can detail it, you know, say he is in maqamul bayan and he can mention, is not taqiyya, for example. He has emerged, you know, he has merged them into one. You can detail and make it 4. He is in maqamul bayan and he can mention the qaid, but he has not mentioned the qaid. And for example, there is no qadr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُحِلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. This ayah is very general. It's not said with the intention of detailing all the conditions. So you cannot use the umum or itlaq of ayah and say certain things are not needed. Because here the speaker or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was just trying to give the general idea that everything which is tayyib is halal for you. Or أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ صَيْدُ الْبَحْرِ. those animals that you hunt from sea is halal. But this again is not about details. You cannot say therefore everything we take from sea is halal. Or for example, faqih, the jurists say al-ghanamu halalun. The sheep is halal, but what part of sheep? With zeb, without zeb. There are details. فالجميع في مقام بيان أصل الحكم لا في مقام بيان خصوصياته. These three examples are all to express the main ruling, not all the conditions and details. إجماع. فلا يصح التمسك بأمثال هذه الإطلاقات عند الشك في الجزئية والشرطية. So if there is a doubt whether something is part of this or not, whether something is a condition or not, you cannot use إطلاق هنا, because the متكلم was not intending to say everything. وقد يكون في مقام بيان كل ما له دخل في الموضوع من الأجزاء والشرائط. Yes, sometimes the speaker is in the position of mentioning anything that bears on subject. So anything relevant, a juz or shart, condition or part, he mentions. If he is in this position and you have doubt about something, whether this is a condition or not, you say, he wanted to say everything and he has not said this. So it means that this was not important. Otherwise, he is wise. He should have said it. فَإِذَا سَكَتَ عَنْ بَيَانِ جُزْئِيَّةِ شَيْءٍ أَوْ شَرْطِيَّةٍ. If he is silent with respect to saying that something is a condition or a part, نَسْتَكْشِفُ أَنَّهُ غَيْرُ دَخِيلًا فِي الْمَوْضُوعِ. We can discover from this that that is not relevant, that doesn't bear on the subject. Therefore, it's only possible to use itlaq for removing possibility of juz'iyat or shartiyat if there is no ijmal or ihmal. Okay? فإن ترك بيان ما هو الدخيل في القرض قبيح في الأول دون الثاني. If he is not in maqam al-ijmal, he should have said the condition. If he has not said, then this means that he was not in maqam al-bayan. Otherwise, it's qabih. How can you be in the position of mentioning everything so that the people practice and you fail to say something which is important for you? Now, let us give you an example to see that sometimes how mutakallim can not be in the position of saying something. For example, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا أَمْسَكْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ. You know, in the past, maybe still today, they train dogs for hunting. It is called kalb mu'allam. Mu'allam, not mu'allim. It's mu'allam. Trained. This is a dog which is trained. Okay? So, if a dog which is trained goes and hunts, takes, for example, a bird, then is this bird halal or not? Suppose there is no life in the bird and bird already has been killed because the dog has taken, for example, the neck of the bird and died. Ayah says, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا أَمْسَكْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ. It, which means it's possible. Doesn't mean it's wajib. Because amr ba'da al-hadr or ba'da tabahum al-hadr means jawaz. When something was prohibited or something was possible to be prohibited and it is said do it, it means you can do it. Yeah? You remember we said you go to doctor and doctor says eat this fruit or this food. It doesn't mean it's wajib. It means that no problem. Because when you were ill you could not eat it. Fakulu, eat from what they have taken for you, which means it's possible. وَذُكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ, mention Bismillah. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَرِيعُ الْحِسَابِ. Okay, with respect to this hunted animal being halal or haram, ayah is clear. Ayah intends to mention the details. But with respect to the tahara and najasa, ayah is silent. So if you say, I don't know whether we should wash this or we don't need to wash. Ayah says, kulu, so we don't need to wash. You say, no. That was not the question. Or we are not sure. So you cannot establish that the speaker was in the position of talking about tahara and najasa. What is qadr mutayaqan? What we know that he wanted to speak about is whether this is now meta, is a dead animal, or it is a halal animal because it is Islamically hunted, for example. فَالْآيَةُ بِصَدَدِ بَيَانِ أَنَّمَا أَمْسَكَهُ الْكَلْبِ بِحُكْمِ الْمُذَكَّى إِذَا ذُكِرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَلَيْسَ بَمِيتًا. Ayah is expressing, sadad bayan means is in the position of expressing that what dog has taken is mudhakka, is considered like something which is slaughtered. The hukm means it's like that. Of course, if Bismillah is mentioned. Walaysa bimita, it's not dead. فهي في مقام بيان حلية ما يصيده الكلب مطلقا وإن مات الصيد قبل أن يصل إليه الصائد. So the ayah is telling us that even if the bird or that animal which is hunted before reaches us is already killed, still it is halal. If it is not killed, then of course you can do zibh. هل يصح التمسك بإطلاق قوله فكلوا على طهارة موضع عضه? Can we say the place that the dog is biting, عض is biting, is that place tahir and we can eat without washing? al-zahirullah? No. Why? Because ayah was not in the position of speaking about this issue. It was about Hilliya and Hurma, not about Tahara and Najasa. Do you have a question? You have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that if when they leave the dog for hunt, so how do they say the takbir, like taking the name of Allah on that hunting thing?
So, of course, you should ask your marja, but maybe when the dog is hunting, either when you are releasing the dog or when you see that dog has taken before the life goes. Not that when brings it to you and it's already dead. Because there are some Muslims who say that, for example, you take the food and you say Bismillah. But this doesn't seem to work. Should be maybe at the time of releasing the dog or when dog is biting. Yes, capturing.
Thank you.
But we check, with Risala. So, you cannot use itlaq of kulu for tahara. Is it clear? Because we don't, at least we can say we don't know, we are not sure that ayah was explaining that point. What we are sure that the ayah was trying to say is the issue of tazkiyah, hilliya and hurma. Okay, this is about first muqaddamah. أما المقدمة الثانية أي انتفاء ما يوجب التقييد. The first condition was, the first prerequisite was that there must be nothing that modifies. عدم وجود قرینه. There must be no قرینه على التغییر. No evidence for تغییر, for modification. قرینه متصله or منفصله. None of them should be there. Whether it is متصله or منفصله. If there is متصله, doesn't let إطلاق take place. If there is منفصله, disconnected, comes and breaks إطلاق. And then إطلاق would remain in the remaining part. Yeah? So when you say أعتق رغبة and then later say, for example, that it has to be مؤمنة, then with respect to غير مؤمنة is excluded, and مؤمنة with respect to other things is مطلق. But with respect to إيمان is مقيد. أما المقدمة الثالثة, there must be no certain limit or certain scope. Because if there is something certain, then it acts like قرینه متصله and would not let إطلاق to take form.
Then مقدمة الثانية.
Pardon?
مقدمة الثانية يقدر
Thani means that there must be no mention of any modification, any modifier. Tatmimun. There is a final point here. Maybe someone asks, what should we know, we do if we don't know whether a speaker was trying to explain everything or not? We don't know a speaker was in maqamul bayan or not. What should we do? The first assumption, something that you go by it unless it is proved otherwise, is to assume that he is. We assume that every speaker is trying to say whatever he means. Unless we have some evidence that says, no, he is now fi maqam al-ihmal, now he's maqam al-ijmal, now he's in taqiyya. These are to be proved. Otherwise, as soon as we hear from someone something, we assume that this is exactly what he means. He's not going to change it later. Okay? It's a rational rule. Yes.
Sheikh, I had a question regarding the third muqaddimah.
Yeah.
When we say there's something that would be certainly included and it would act like a qarina muttasila and modifies itlaq, can you give us an example of that? Because if we are including something, I don't see why it's a problem. If we're excluding something, then I understand. It becomes like a taqid. But if something is definitely included, why would that cause an issue?
So for example, if you know that when he said أعتق رقبتان, he definitely meant mu'min. Mu'min is meant. But you don't know whether something else is meant or not, then according to our Subhani, then this is a problem. Because maybe he didn't mention that ghaid because he knew that you know already that this is certain. There is a little bit of problem, I accept, I sense that problem myself. And this is why in the previous book we didn't mention this. In my book I didn't mention this, but he makes this point. He says, if there is qadr mutayaqan, this acts like qarineh muttasileh. So if you know that certainly mu'min is meant in raqabah, and you don't know whether it's more than that or just mu'minah, he says you cannot accept muqaddamat al-hikmah. But I am not very clear. I say, if that is the case, almost never you can have muqaddamat al-hikmah, because there's always a way to say that this part is mutayaq.
Yes, indeed.
Never muqaddamat al-hikmah can take place. The next chapter, al-mutlaq wal-muqayyad al-mutanafiyan. If Mawla, or not Mawla necessarily, someone who has some kind of authority, even can be a doctor, for example, that in your health you listen to him. If he says a sentence as mutlaq, another sense as muqayyad, and they conflict. For example, إذا استيقظت من النوم اشرب لبنا. When you wake up, drink milk. Of course, nowadays Arabs normally say halib, and they say laban for yogurt. But here means milk. When you wake up, drink milk. Another time he says, when you wake up, drink sweet milk. There is a conflict here. One says drink milk, means even if it is not sweet, it's okay. For example, salty. The other one says drinks sweet milk. هذان الحكمان متنافيان. They conflict. One says drinking any milk is enough, sufficient. The other one says sweet. How can we treat this problem? How do you treat this conflict? One is to say التصرف في المطلق بحمله على المقيد. You say I change mutlaq and make it comply with muqayyad. So when once he said drink milk, and the other time drink sweet milk, it means that when he said drink milk, he meant sweet milk. So I drink sweet milk. حمل المطلق على المقيد. Another thing is التصرف في المقيد. To say I drink any milk. When he said drink sweet milk, it means it's better. It's better. It's more perfect, you know, if I have sweet. So here you are trying to preserve mutlaq. You preserve mutlaq and say the reason he said sweet is because better, preferable. والرائج في الخطابات الشرعية. Ayatollah Subhanahu says what is common in religious conversation, religious, discussions, is to interpret mutlaq in the light of muqayyad. Not to say that mutlaq is mutlaq and muqayyad only shows recommendation. So if you have such a thing in religious cases, you say it should be sweet. وَقَدْ عَرَفْتَ وَجْهَهُ. And you have already known what is the point. Wajh means point. What is the reason for this? Mutlaq and then taqyid. This is a gradual process. You say something in general and then you say the details. قَدْ عَرَفْتَ وَجْهَهُ مِنْ أَنَّ التَّشْرِيعَ تَمَّ تَدْرِيجًا. Islamic legislation happened gradually. So you don't expect all the details to come in the same sentence. Therefore, the second is mutammim for the first. Of course, here I have a reservation. This is, yes.
Time it doesn't important in these two sentences.
Yeah.
When it says
Yeah, exactly. This is valid, this point is valid if muqayyad is said later and before maqamul bayan. But for example, if mutlaq is in a hadith from imam who is later and muqayyad is mentioned before, what would you do? So it's not only a matter of gradual process of legislation. Sometimes the speaker wants to say all the details, sometimes he's just mentioning the general ideas, sometimes he knows that you are already going to check details from other places, sometimes the details are mentioned but have not reached us. So it's not very straightforward. You have to study the case and see when was mutlaq mentioned, when was muqayyad mentioned, Was it before maqam al-amal, waqt al-amal, or after waqt al-amal? All these things, yes.
I was expecting Ayatollah Subhani to say Adam al-Dhuhur
Ah,
on this, so
Yeah.
we need the explicit evidence.
yeah. But he says this is common. ثم إن إحراز التنافي. The last point here is when we say there is conflict, it's obvious that conflict can only be conceived when there is one mawzu, one hukm. For example, like now, all of them is about when you wake up. But if one is when you wake up, drink sweet milk, and the other one says when you eat, drink milk, there is no conflict. Because one is about إذا أكلت, one is about إذا استيقظت من النوم. There is no conflict here. They are two separate things. Is it clear? فعلى الفقيه في مقام التقييد إحراز وحدة الحكم عن طريق إحراز وحدة السبب. So faqih has to be sure that there is one hukm, and the way to understand this is one hukm is that there is one cause. Like إذا استيقظت من النوم. If both of them have one cause, then the ruling is the same. But if there is one for when you wake up, one for when you have your food, so it's two hukm. There is no conflict. Okay, Alhamdulillah, itlaq and taqyid finished. Now we have al-mujmal wal-mubayyan. This is separate from the discussion about itlaq, but because this is very short discussion, Ayatollah Subhani has put them together. Otherwise, this is not about mutlaq and muqayyad. Al-mujmal wal-mubayyan. Here we mean by mujmal unclear. Something which is unclear, something which is ambiguous. Mubayyan means clear, explicit. You remember we had this before. That mubayyan is either nas or zahir. Mujmal is like mutashabih. You don't know what is it meant. Urraf al-mujmal. Mujmal has been defined in this way. Ma lam tattadih dalalatuhu. Something whose dalala is not clear. You don't know what does it mean. You are not sure. وَيُقَابِلْهُ الْمُبَيَّن. An opposite to mujmal is mubayyan. Mubayyan is clear. المقصود من المجمل ما جهل فيه مراد المتكلم. What we mean by mujmal is when the meaning that the speaker has meant is not known. Juhila is unknown to us. إذا كان لفظا, if it is something said. Sometimes mujmal can be an action. Prophet or ma'soom in general has done something and we don't know what does it mean. Okay? So sometimes he has said something and we don't understand. Sometimes he has done something and we don't know. For example, if ma'soom after two sajda has sat, jalsatul istiraha, before standing up for the next rak'ah, we see ma'soom has sat after second sajda. This action, if we don't have any evidence, is mujmal. We don't know whether it is wajib, whether it is mustahab, or whether it is just mubah. We know that it is not haram, but it's not very clear. You cannot say because ma'soom did this, it is wajib, or it is mustahab, or it is mubah. At least we know it's not haram. Is it clear?
Yes.
So sometimes action is not mubayyan, sometimes word or speech is not mubayyan. So المقصود من المجمل ما جهل فيه مراد المتكلم إذا كان لفظا أو جهل فيه مراد الفاعل إذا كان فعلا. Either you don't know مراد المتكلم or you don't know مراد الفاعل. What did the fa'il meant when he did this? When he sat after sajdatain, what was his murad? What did he mean? Did he mean to do something wajib or mustahab or just permissible? يقول المحققون, and because of this محققون, who are محققون? Researchers, but researchers who are reliable, you know. So muhaqqaq is not just researcher. Muhaqqaq is the one whose research leads to finding the truth. There are researchers whose research leads to getting money, not necessarily leading to truth. You know, there are some people, depending on who commissions them, they make the research in the way that suits them. For example, you know, if someone, you know, wants to bring birth control, they do research in the way that birth control is better.
Indeed, yes.
If the one who gives them funding doesn't want birth control, they do the research in the way that...
It should
Yes. Pardon?
be master.
It's not biased. They are not actually biased. They are very neutral.
Working according to the
When,
demand.
yes, they are driven by money or by incentives, you know. They are not objective. Pardon?
The sales people, you know, have to make money or commission or anything.
Yeah. So sometimes, unfortunately, it's like this. But muhaqqiq is the one who tries hard to reach haqq. He does the research to find out haqq. So some muhaqqiqun, they say in this way, they say إن فعل المعصوم كما لو صلى مع جلسة الاستراحة بعد السجدة. If ma'asum says his prayer with sitting for rest, you know, we call it jalsatul istiraha. After sajdatain, you sit and you stand up. They call it sitting for rest. This is to distinguish it from sitting at the time of tashahhud or salam. They say if ma'asum does this, this shows that this is halal. Yadulla ala asl al-jawaz. But doesn't show that it is wajib or mustahab. Certainly this was not haram. Ma'asum doesn't do haram. But it was wajib, it was mustahab, it was just permissible. We don't know. Okay, question. Why sometimes a speech, like a sentence, a statement, can become mujmal? You may say, it shouldn't be mujmal because a speaker is wise. Why it's mujmal? Say, no, there are reasons. Sometimes we need to have evidence. Otherwise, the term has different possibilities. For example, وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةِ فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمَا. Man and woman who commits theft, فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمَا. This yad, if we didn't have any hadith, any sunnah, in Arabic yad can mean fingers, 4 fingers, can mean palm, can mean up to elbow, can mean up to shoulder. So all of them can be yad.
Or power.
Pardon?
Or power.
Power?
Yeah.
No.
Because some say, for example, يد الله فوق أيديهم is the real meaning of yad.
Yeah, that's another. That's not. So فَاقْتَوْا أَيْدِيَهُمَا or not فَاقْتَوْا their
I
power.
think there are actually some who have that opinion, as in you prison them, for example.
That's metaphoric then. The literal meaning of yad is physical hand, but hand can be used in different ways. Okay, so for us, if we are not sure, we have to refer to Sunnah because the ayah by itself can carry different possibilities. The second reason is الإجمال في متعلق الحكم المحذوف كما في كل مورد تعلق الحكم بالأعيان. Sometimes, this is a very important point, sometimes wujub or hurma and hilliya belong to an object. Okay? For example, we say mita is haram. What does it mean mita is haram? Mita cannot be haram. Eating mita is haram. Or selling mita is haram. Buying mita. So sometimes ijmal happens because the ruling has belonged to an object. And the verb is not mentioned. Which verb? Which action? Here also there can be ijmal. So sometimes this is the reason. Again, you establish it from other places. Sometimes also we don't know whether it is used in a literal sense or not. For example, لا صلاة إلا بفاتحة الكتاب. There is no ritual prayer, daily prayer, except with Fatihatul Kitab, Suratul Hamd. If you don't know whether it means without Fatihatul Kitab, it is not called Salat at all, or without Fatihatul Kitab, it's not valid, or it's a matter of perfection, for example. Means Salat without Fatihatul Kitab is not important. It's not a significant Salat. If you don't know, if you know, it's okay, but if you don't know, then a ayah becomes mujmal and you have to establish it from other evidence. Or la salata illa bitahur. There is no ritual prayer without tahur, means ablution and ghusl, for example, either ablution. Is it a matter that of perfection? Is a matter of validity? Is a matter of not being called salat? So it's mujmal. Of course, Ayatollah Subhani says, mujmal and mubayyan are also relative. What does it mean they are relative?
For one thing there might be mujmal, for another thing there might be mubayyan.
They are relative means that for some person something might be mujmal, for another faqih it can be mubayyan. Sometimes you are so familiar with fiqh that when you read this ayah it's very clear for you. Sometimes it's mujmal and then you go and look for evidence. So it's something relative. Like muhkam and mutashabih. In the Quran, muhkam and mutashabih are relative. For some people, there is no mutashabih. Everything is muhkam. So if someone asks you muhkam and mutashabih or mujmal and mubayyan are relative or not, what do you say? You say they are relative. Yes. But this relative doesn't mean cousin or... This relative means...
In the sense.
Means it's not absolute. It depends, yes.
Is that mujmal at what point will be mubayyan?
Yes.
Because after this,
When you have the evidence, then it becomes mubayyan. Okay. تم الكلام في المقصد الخامس. Alhamdulillah. The fifth section finished. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.